on 5 to 10% of all the energy resources in the so-called United States. It is to the settler society's benefit for us to be removed from our ancestral territories and ancestral lands. To realize we are in a state of war. They're poisoning our land, they're poisoning our water to get us out of here. There's 1,500 wells that have been poisoned. You know, that shouldn't be that way.
This one here, that's his grandma.
This is Ben Lewis. He's a Vietnam veteran and a former uranium miner.
That's when I used to drive a truck.
Oh, that's the uranium?
Uranium, that's what we used to haul ore with.
Tens of thousands of Americans on the Navajo Nation don't have access to clean running water in their homes. Ben is one of them. Across the United States, 99% of Americans have running water in their homes. But here on the reservation, at least 40% of the residents live without it.
This be the wash base because I don't have any running water. And you turn it on, nothing. So there's no water.
There's an NTUA surveyor out here checking out your land. You should go talk to him. Yeah.
Should we go?
Right
He's
now?
standing right here with the hard hat on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ben has been asking the local water utility to install a water tank on his property for years, but they never came. Coincidentally, they chose today, as we were filming, to show up unannounced.
They must have seen you guys.
Yeah, they must have.
There's a surveyor here from the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. They're in charge of getting people water, so we're gonna go figure out what he's here doing. They started digging to perhaps put in either a septic tank or a water tank for Benjamin's house. He's been waiting for a while for this to happen. We came to Ben's house with George McGraw, an international water rights activist. He's been working with the community since 2012. His nonprofit, Dig Deep, typically works in underdeveloped countries. This is their first project in the United States. How did you even find out about what was going on here in New Mexico?
Actually, we had a donor call us a few years ago and said, you know, I have a $5,000 gift to make, and my only stipulation is that it be here in the US. And I called her back and I said, listen, ma'am, I would love to take your money and put it to work in a place that people really need it, you know, like South Sudan or Cameroon. And she said, well, I just came back from the reservation and I was working at a school where there's no running water. So you need to get in a car and go out there and figure out what's going on. Turns out there's about 1.7 million Americans without access to water at home, and a lot of them live on Indian reservations like this one.
I think the surface is too hard.
Oh, they're still saying that.
Yeah, because they tested 1, 2, 3, about 4 places still when they tested. So it's...
So what's the solution now, though?
Huh?
What do you think the solution is now?
I hope they complete it, though. I don't know.
The NTUA was unable to install a water tank for Ben. Today's water issues on the Navajo Nation can be traced back over 50 years to the Cold War era. About 4 million tons of uranium was mined on Navajo land to fuel the US government's nuclear arms race. The uranium industry was an economic boon to the region at the time, but came at a steep cost to the environment and the Navajo people.
We had all kinds of clean water until they started mining it. The water used to run underneath through the mines and all that. It used to be clean, but when they started mining it, I don't know how they did it, but that's when the water started being contaminated with all that dirt and the uranium. We used to haul our water in. I used to get it out of this windmill just right here. But there's a sign they put up on it. It says it's contaminated, so that's when I stopped.
And that's when that same windmill registered positive for uranium contamination, nitrites, manganese. Actually, the reason I know Benjamin so well is because as we've been working on this project, he called a few months ago and said, hey, You know, there's some families that have moved into this part of town and they're drinking water out of this old windmill. You know, I see them marching down there every morning to get their water. And, you know, I used to drink out of that, but I know it's dirty. So can you go down there and place a sign because the water they're drinking now is so unsafe?
George took us to the windmill where Ben used to get his water.
Watch out, I'm gonna try to open it and see if, yeah. So the crazy thing about this water is it doesn't look any different from the water you'd pull out of a tap at home. But
It doesn't smell any different.
Nope, it doesn't smell, it doesn't have any particulate in it. You know, and that's one of the difficult things about our jobs, is really convincing people to take these things seriously when it's hard to tell any difference. And you have to ask people to go miles and miles and spend a lot of money to haul water home when they could walk, what, a quarter of a mile over here and pull this water for free and it doesn't look or taste or smell any different.
Yeah, seriously. Dig Deep is working towards construction on a new well here in the Smith Lake community. But the project is moving slowly because it's been hard to find a water source that isn't affected by uranium contamination. They've had to drill deep beneath the contaminated soil to get to clean water. You have the highway right over here. It's less than a mile from what I can see. And then you have people living right next to the highway. There's a contaminated well and people without running water.
Yeah, I mean, it is really crazy. And it's not just any highway. It's like Route 66, right? It's the lifeline of America. It's the most American, patriotic highway. And here are these Americans, a lot of them veterans, a lot of them normal people like you and me that live, you know, in these incredible conditions.
Uranium mining is currently banned on the Navajo Nation, but its history still haunts the region. There are over 500 abandoned mine sites with radioactivity levels 10 to 25 times above what is considered to be safe. While much of rural America can rely on backyard watering holes without larger infrastructure, here in the Navajo Nation, decades of uranium mining have contaminated many of these resources. Getting everyone clean water requires laying miles of pipes to isolated homes scattered across the reservation. It has become a daunting and costly project for the Navajo Tribal Utilities Authority, or NTUA, who is tasked with the job.
Now we're roughly getting to $5 billion as a bare minimum to make all this work. So you know, that's the financial challenge that the nation faces.
Rex Kuntz is the deputy manager of the NTUA, the same company that was unable to install a water tank for Ben Lewis.
It is a challenge with regulatory bodies to try to get them to understand the realities on Navajo. There's not a lot of money. There's not a lot of places to pull money from the normal avenues that cities do, you know, like raising the rates, and that generates all this money, and they got new projects that they can fund directly out of resources. We don't have that option.
So the Navajo Nation can't do this without help?
I'm in no way trying to say that the nation should just sit here and wait for the government to bail us out. Everybody needs a little bit of help. States get federal help. We claim sovereignty, which is control over our own destiny. But in order to do that, we have to flex our muscle and start taking care of ourselves. We have to get away from a welfare state.
The companies who mined here are the ones who are responsible for the cleanup of the abandoned sites. But 60 years later, many of them no longer exist. To date, the US EPA and the Navajo Nation have been able to track down 8 responsible companies, including the likes of Chevron and General Electric, who are investigating and cleaning up the mines they are responsible for. But there are still over 400 sites that remain unaccounted for. How long do you think it's going to take to get everyone water on the Navajo Nation?
I would probably say it's not any sooner than 50 years out.
Are people going to wait for that long?
Some people are going to be dead before they get it.
The lack of infrastructure doesn't just affect families on the reservation, but also the potential for businesses. The Navajo Nation has a 70% unemployment rate because of limited jobs and economic opportunities. Many people leave to survive. But not everyone is leaving without a fight. Residents without running water rely on the goodwill of the St. Bonaventure Indian Mission and Darlene Arviso, known locally as the Water Lady. The Indian Mission is an oasis for those whose local water sources are no longer safe for drinking.
People that don't have running water, I feel bad because long time ago I didn't have running water, and I know how it feels to have no water. And at the same time, I like to help my people.
For those without the means or energy to haul their own water from the mission, Darlene brings a lifeline to them.
So the families that we're visiting today, is there any water around where they live?
No, there's no water out there. They have to haul water. Then south, or I go out there to deliver water.
If somebody needs to haul water and they live in Haystack, like where we're going to get today, how far is the journey?
About 30 miles.
30 miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
The average Navajo home uses 7 gallons of water a day, whereas the average person in the US uses about 100.
Is this good for everybody for a month until?
Yes, not for a month, yeah, like for up to 3 weeks.
Darlene's water delivery is only a temporary solution to a much wider problem, both on the Navajo Nation and across the country. The effects of uranium contamination are still being understood, and educating the Navajo people about the importance of clean water continues to be a challenge in these rural areas.
It's right there. That windmill right there.
Oh, okay, right up there?
Just walk over there.
Yeah.
Bring back like 4 or 5 gallons water jug.
You didn't think it was dangerous?
I've been drinking that water for like 15, 20 years now. If I'm desperate, I can drink it.
Have you been desperate recently?
Yeah.
Has anybody come and talked to you about uranium?
No.
For some Navajo, access to good information is just as important as access to clean water. Leona Morgan runs Dine No Nukes, a Navajo initiative that educates communities about the dangers of radioactive contamination and nuclear proliferation.
The fact that Japan just turned on their reactors this week is going to impact us here on Navajo, because when the price of uranium goes up, then we're going to be trying to fight off a lot of companies, and then some of our leaders might find it as a type of economic development. And so that's one of our focuses, is not only to educate on the past uranium mining, but also the new threats out there that are harming our people.
The long-term effects of exposure to uranium-contaminated water are still being studied, but the health patterns are telling. Cancer rates in the Navajo population were once so low that people were thought to be immune to it. But 60 years after mining began, cancer has become the leading cause of illness and death for the Navajo.
All across our communities, we are running out of time. Whether you're fortunate enough to not have to deal with uranium contamination or not, our wells are running dry. And that's why it's so imperative of us to take action now. All of this is a result of a war that's been waged on our people and our lands and our resources. I want to talk about what we do as warriors to rise up and to confront that.
There's 1,500 wells that have been poisoned. You know, that shouldn't be that way. We are on 5 to 10% of all the energy resources in the so-called United States. It is to the settler society's benefit for us to be removed from our ancestral territories and ancestral lands.
Do you think that a lot of young Navajo people, knowing what modern conveniences are, just 50 miles off of the reservation, do you think that a lot of them want to leave?
Oh yeah, oftentimes we lose them to the cities. It's a great hindrance to the future of Dene society if all of our young, smart minds are leaving.
Worst case scenario, more and more people migrate, younger people migrate off Navajo. Navajo starts to become an undeveloped area, and it just starts to slowly erode and cave in. And then the greater America is going to end up coming in and just absorbing it, and Navajo will lose its identity, its control, its sovereignty, and they'll lose everything that they are.